Soul Not For Sale. I got the shirt, the original shirt on today. This is episode 482, and we're getting right to it. This is another edition of Soul Not For Sale. We'll call this the F. Trudeau series, you know? Every once in a while, every few weeks, I like to just put a little F. Trudeau out into the world. I just feel like it's good to do. It's Joe Rogan, it's Gad Saad, and they're both talking about Canada, where it's going, where it's been, the totalitarian-esque tactics the government have been using, and why Joe Rogan changed his opinion on Justin Trudeau. Because when in 2015, his opinion of Justin Trudeau was like, this guy's great. He's like Obama. Which I guess Obama was a good thing at that time. He's like Obama. He's young. He's good looking. You know, he had a good opinion of him. But once we get into 2020, 2021, 2022, Joe Rogan was like, this guy's terrible. As did all of Canada as well, especially the truckers. So let's get into that right now. But first, I got to bring you to the store. This is IamCoachColin.com, and I'm showing you our latest design that has just come out. It's Public Enemy #1. And if you don't know who that is, let me show you. It is a cricket connoisseur himself. Public Enemy #1. The WEF Don Dada. The man who started it all. The guy who wants you to stay within 15 minutes of your house. That's right. It's that gentleman right there. I got to do a video on him later on. I gotta show some people some stuff about this guy. We also have another design. It is a certified pureblood design. I can't even say this on YouTube, but if you're one of the people who survived the biggest psychological experiment that the world has ever seen, this is your certificate of achievement. Grab yourself one, all at IamCoachColin.com. We have t-shirts for men and women, tank tops for men and women, and a hoodie like you see here. You can even get this design as well on the site. And if you want 10% off of any purchase that you see, whether it's a large purchase, small purchase, all you have to do is put in the discount code IamCoachColin. That's IamCoachColin, all capital letters, all one word, one L in Colin. And that gets you 10% off. You're very welcome. And if you are someone who's already done that on our site, you have no idea how grateful we are for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's get into this clip. Let's go.
It's also like it's very European, even though it's Canadian. There's a lot. And
well, thank you. You're making me feel good that I'm still there.
I love it up there. It's a great place. It's great. I just don't love the kind of direction that the government is trying to take control of the country. That's what freaks me out. Taking control of narratives and taking control of what people say on social media and stopping protests and what they did with the Canadian truckers.
Yeah. Well, I think, and again, not to blow smoke up your behind, but one of the things that I think people appreciate about you is that you do change your opinion in light of new evidence. And I remember very vividly the first time that you and I spoke about Justin Trudeau, you were quite a fan, and then you revised your opinion of him.
I felt he's a very handsome man, very good speaker, but he's not really a good speaker on the cuff, off the cuff. It's really like when he has like a speech.
Yeah. There's a template.
Yeah, and he's a good-looking guy. It's like when you see like a handsome fellow with nice hair, it's like, oh, I want him to be good.
But it's funny that you say he's good-looking because Megyn Kelly came on my show, and her view, and we would think that she would know how to judge the masculinity of someone. She said, I would never want that guy on top of me. He doesn't exude any masculinity. I mean, literally almost exactly that to the word. I'm sure that Jamie's going to pull it up any second now.
But that's also him now, right? Where you know who he really is. I think
he's a girly girl.
You think so? We had a boxing match. Hit a boxing match with some other politician. Did you ever see it?
I did.
Not terrible.
Yeah.
Not terrible.
I mean, I'll defer to your boxing expertise.
They threw some hands,
Is that right?
Fucking was going after it. Yeah. But what disturbs me is the way he's willing to discredit people that disagree with him, like the Canadian truckers.
Yeah.
He's saying that they're often misogynistic and racist. Like what are you talking about, man? The fact that they froze the bank accounts of people who donated money.
That's insane.
Insane. That's like Banana Republic shit.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's scary totalitarian shit.
I had the spokesperson of the trucker convoy on my show. It's unbelievable.
It's a test case.
It really is.
Yeah, for totalitarian government tactics, and they did not fail. They did not pass that test. They failed that test.
And to the great discredit of my fellow Canadians, we've now 3 times. I mean, you don't vote for him. You vote for the party in a parliamentary system. But it's 3 times now that he's in, and each time he's gotten, I think, no more than about 30-something% of the vote. So that's one of the dangers of a parliamentary system. Even though 2/3 of the people don't want you there, he's now been prime minister since 2015.
How does that work?
Well, you're basically voting for the party, and then depending on how many seats are taken in the parliament, that's who becomes the majority. So it's not like the American system where I am voting for Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. You're voting for a platform in your riding. Right. So if I'm voting for the Liberal Party, I'm voting for the Liberal candidate in my riding. And now that is tallied up. And since he's the prime minister, the leader of that party, he then becomes the prime minister.
And does anyone primary him? Do they have that sort of a situation where someone tries to challenge him from the same party?
Only when you're deciding who's going to be the leader of the party.
So once someone's the leader of the party, they no longer challenge that person.
That's right. So I don't know the exact details.
So as long as that party is in power, he's in power.
He's in power.
For how long?
There is no. I don't think there's a statute. Not statute. What is it called? The
term limitations.
Term limitations. Thank you. I don't think there is.
So he could be dictator forever.
For like the next 4,000 years. It's unbelievable.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Great.
One of the other reasons why I'd like to leave Canada and move to greener pastures.
Yeah, it's just not good for people to have that kind of power.
Yeah.
It's almost never good, and especially when they start using it in that way. They start, using it the way they're using it up there. It's like the clamping down of free speech is never done by the good guys.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not what it is. And when you're being fed propaganda and you know you're being fed propaganda and now you're expected to not say it and not talk about it and just accept it, that's not good for anybody. That's not good for any. And it's only good for the people that are in power, and it's only good for as long as they're alive, because what they're going to leave behind is going to be a disaster. And if new people that are from the opposing party get into control, they're going to expand their control even further. And this is a terrible cycle that if you don't have very rigid rules on what can and can't be done, you open the door for tyranny. And that's what they're doing.
And the worst part is that it's cloaked under the robe of progressivism, right?
It says he will be prime minister until 2025. They brokered a deal. What does it say at the top? It says they brokered a deal that will keep minority government in power until the next election.
Yeah.
Why do they say minority government? What does that mean?
So that means
minority liberal government. That's the minority of the people in the country?
No, it's in terms of the number of seats in the parliament. I don't know the exact number, but you could either be a majority government or a minority government. Usually when you're a minority government, it's because you've set up an agreement with another party allowing you to, right? So in this case, it's the NDP.
So the whole party's behind him, which is a problem.
Yeah.
And what would it take for someone from another party to win?
Get enough seats in the ridings to overturn this asshole. Right now, the top guy in the Conservative Party is Pierre Poilievre. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I have.
I think Jordan Peterson had him on his show. I'm not a huge fan. I don't know enough about his policy, so I don't want to misspeak. But I'm traditionally, I don't like someone who spent their entire career in politics and nothing else. I like the guys who, they were surgeons or they were lawyers or they were businessmen, and then they come into politics as a second act to their lives. Whereas this guy, meaning the Pierre guy, has always been in politics. And so for that reason alone, I would prefer someone to be coming in from the outside. But short of that, I don't know anything about him.
It just doesn't seem like it's moving in a good direction in terms of people's ability to express themselves.
Indeed.
Yeah, it seems very, very, very much a thing that's in danger up there.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Well, what has Jordan been a support? I think he's a supporter of his, right? Have you?
Yeah, Jordan is a supporter of his. Yeah. I've watched some interviews with him.
Well, there is another guy who broke from the Conservative Party named Maxime Bernier.
Maxime Bernier. I've heard of that guy. The People's Party, I believe. PPC, something like that. The Trudeau, Poilievre, Bernier. These all sound like French men. From what I know, Alberta, I've never been to Alberta, but that's like the Texas of Canada. Why not get a cowboy to be prime minister? Or a cow lady? One of those people. Or Jordan Peterson, where's he from? He's from like the middle of Canada. Manitoba, I believe. I'm probably wrong. I know. I'm sorry. Butchering it. But I know he's from Manitoba. Why not have somebody from where he's from? Yeah. Not saying there's anything wrong with all these French guys. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. You want some hardy people, you know? Winter's different. Like, I live near farms. Like, I can go 5-10 minutes any direction, there's a farm. Winter is different when you're around some farmland. It's different. That builds some real character. Joe Rogan's always talking about how winter builds character. That farm winter, that builds character. Now, what they were saying about Trudeau. This is something, and I'm just going to touch on it, obviously. There's nothing I can do. I can't call for any action to happen. But the way that the electoral system, it does not work. That's not good. That's not good at all. And also, I didn't realize he could just continue being prime minister. There's no stop to it. That's terrible. I've said it 100 times. 100 times. That's why the Constitution is so good. It's so good. These founding fathers just knew what needed to happen. Because now, when you think of Trudeau, he could become like Putin. He could just be in place. He could just keep moving the pieces and moving the goalposts and just stay in power. You're already seeing him take on dictator-like aspects as he gets confronted with different situations. Who knows what else he's going to do? He's going to make it so he stays in power and he's not even getting all the votes. Like this, I don't know. It's terrible. Going on 10 years old. It's 2023, 2015, going on 8 years. This guy, like, this should be his last year, should be it. But instead, it's going to be 2025, I think Gad said. Holy man, who knows what's going to happen in that time. All it takes, from what I can see, I don't understand government all that well, but for what I could see, all he has to do is put in another emergency act, you know, like the misuse of emergency acts, and just be like, oh, well, there's no time for an election. Sorry. It's an emergency right now. We got to go into a climate lockdown. I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's definitely possible, especially with a sniveling weasel type like that gentleman. And just so you know, for the Canadians, like the video, first off, like the video, it's down there somewhere. Subscribe if you haven't. But just so you know, for all the Canadians, there is going to be something F. Trudeau-esque on the website very, very soon. I just finished the design yesterday. There's going to be something up there for the Canadians so they can express their distaste for Mr. Trudeau with all due respect. You know, the people should be allowed to show how they feel about somebody on their clothing. So I'm going to provide that definitely. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I love that Joe. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. Joe changed his opinion. I changed my opinion too. I was actually, when I first saw Trudeau, I was like, wow, look at that guy. And he had a father who was prime minister. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Young guy. I mean, you know, the younger the better, you would think, when it comes to government. Because you see these older people get it wrong so much. They stay in power for so long. They're just so disconnected, so out of touch. You see a younger person and you're like, oh, this is it. You know, once a younger person comes in, they're going to clean house. They're going to put younger people around them. They're going to do all the right things. But it's starting to show, especially when you look at someone like RFK Jr., you look at Trump, you look at Biden, you look at Pelosi. There's old people who get it right and wrong. It's just, and there's young people. Look at AOC. AOC's terrible. 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 Is she even 40 yet? I don't even think she's 40 yet. She's young. There's young people who get it right and wrong. I don't think it has anything to do with age. I see now, you know, the era of my thinking. It has to do with like who's that type of person to bend and fold and want people to bend and fold to their will once they get in power. And it's keeping those people out, young and old, you know? Very sad what's going on in Canada. And I love the fact that Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan, every time they bring up Trudeau, they make sure to bring up what he did to the truckers. It's so important to bring that up because the people who organized that event went through hell. Not just during the whole thing, but afterwards. They went through hell. And they're still getting persecuted. They're still getting threatened. It's ridiculous. And Canada has CSIS. I want to compare it to like the CIA. They have something called CSIS. Not as powerful, but same type of thing. They're watching people. I bet they have a whole big file on that lady who organized it. I'm sure they're watching her. I'm sure they're going to do things to kind of get at her in the future. So it's terrible. And like I said, when in regards to the truckers, they froze accounts. That should be, again, I'm not calling for it, but I can't see how that's not the next protest to make in Canada, is going to those banks and being like, we know what you did, giving them the Bud Light treatment. Like if that happened in the United States, if that happened in America with banks doing that, oh, they would get the Bud Light treatment. That'd be it. The banks would topple. They would just, those banks would be done if you did that to a bunch of American people. Now, I don't know if that's already happened. I really doubt that. I really doubt it. I think that would have been front page news. But who knows? But like the video, I just wanted to. Anytime I find a clip of someone talking about Trudeau, talking about him the way people should be talking about him, calling him a girly girl, as Gad said. Talking about him the way that you should be talking about him. It's always good, boost that Canadian morale. Like the video, like I said, it helps so much. You have no idea. Boost us out of the shadow realm. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments what you think about that whole situation. What do you think about what Joe had to say, and what do you think about what Gad had to say? What do you think about Pierre, and what do you think about this Maxime Bernier? What do you think of that? And what do you think about my idea? Getting someone from Manitoba, where Peterson's from, getting somebody from Alberta, the Texas of Canada, you know what I mean? Get some farmers in office. I'm telling you, they've lived looking after the interest of people in regards to food. So I would think if you found one that you got in office, they would run the country towards the interest of the people. Just my thinking, could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I am out. Episode 482. Let's go.